Good morning, Southern California, AM 1220 KHTS. Host Fred Arnold, and I'm with Mike Grover. Mike Grover is the president of TAB, Santa Clarita Valley, and wrote the foreword for the book Timeless Principles of Exceptional Businesses. Mike helps people with creating a personal vision, company vision, set strategic planning. Welcome to the show.
Thank you very, very much. I appreciate it, Fred.
Absolutely. Want to talk about one thing that you are an expert on, helping businesses with process improvement, improving their process. Right. Let's go deeper on that.
Okay. I mean, one of the things that my background was I was in the Navy for a long time, and one of the
U.S. Naval Academy.
I did graduate, yes. There's two parts to it, the attending and the graduating, and sometimes some people do one and not the other. I got lucky and got to
got both, yeah.
Got both, yeah. Yes, and then I was in the Navy for about 35 years, not about 35 years. And at the end of that, I was in a lot of campaign planning for the Navy. And so strategic planning is a real big part.
Now, campaign planning is a little bit different than campaign planning that we think of, right?
Correct, yes. Let's not go there.
We're talking about campaign planning for...
We're talking about theater of operations in the military. And
for the military, got it.
Let's get past that part, yeah. And then, but process improvement, Six Sigma, lean manufacturing, those are the areas that we are doing a lot of in the military. And so that caught my attention. I really love statistics, and I know, I'm a geek. That type of stuff. So I like to make sure that there are reasons for things to occur. A lot of people are really, really creative. They're really able to kind of get excited about stuff, but then when you have to get down and get dirty and get it done, that's the part.
That's the challenge. Yeah. So most entrepreneurs, as we know, are in 4 or 5 different directions at one time, right? At the same hour. So getting them to focus on the process improvement can be a challenge. How do you break it down?
It's exactly what we do. We break it down. And you brought it up at the very beginning, is that we want to walk through the process of looking at your personal vision, your company vision, and then the strategic plan. If you break it down into those bite-sized pieces, or pizzas, if you like pizza, but bless you. And it's like, if you think about elephant, how do you eat an elephant? One steak at a time, no pita things, please. It's just a reference. But you break it down, and you take that process, you take your strategic plan, you take it into big chunks, goals, strategies, activities, tasks. We talked a lot about tasks yesterday, and that's where you have to kind of put it all back together, and then just eat it one steak at a time.
Now, when we talk about creating a process, typically the vision is by the owner or the manager or the visionary, if you will, and then it's broken down to maybe a vice president that's going to work on it, and or manager that's going to work on it. And it gets broken down, and sometimes that manager is actually doing the process, but sometimes there's a lot of things he or she can't see. The entrepreneur cannot see that either you can see or that the person who is actually doing the task can see. Exactly. So let's talk about breaking down and getting feedback.
Yeah, and so actually you brought up a very good point. I mean, again, one of the reasons I even exist, or my industry exists, is that we are that third-party viewpoint, that we come in and we don't get caught up in all the shiny objects and the squirrels, and it's about the business process. It's what are, you can explain to me certain things, and I'm going to say, great, that's great. What are you doing about that? What's the next step you're going to do? And you brought up excellent point. As businesses start to grow and you start having that management team get involved, especially entrepreneurs, where they used to do everything, and now they're learning how to stop working in their business and start working on their business. You have to let go. You have to hand that stuff off. And some of the things we talked about are guidance and intent. You're now that big picture guy or gal, and you're looking at, how do I help my managers understand what I want to have done, but not be there every day, in their ear saying, do this, do this, do this. So managing those tasks, having them clearly identified, and then giving them a little bit of latitude to be able to execute in their scope, but you give them constraints and restraints. Those things you can do, those things you cannot do. And if you give that guidance and you give them the intent, which is the vision, then they should be able to execute. And you only have to manage the treetops. Are they hitting those results that you're expecting?
The one thing I would say when it comes to that in business, and that is be open to different ways of it being done, because sometimes those that are working on the business every day know a better way than you know.
Absolutely, and again, I hate to keep bringing up my Navy career, but one of the things my epiphanies when I became an officer, I was enlisted first, and I became an officer, was the fact that I had this realization that, hey, I'm not doing the work. I have to motivate. I have to give these standards. I have to give guidance to my guys and gals so that they do the work. And if I sit there and I want it slightly to the right 1 inch, does that matter? As long as it's going in the right direction? No. Right. And I had to let that go. It's very difficult, especially if you're a type A, it's your business, you started it from the ground up, but you got to do it. You really got to step back and put it at arm's length.
Now, one thing we talked about when we got together and we were talking about this topic of process improvement, we talked about task saturation. Whereas
that was
sometimes,
a great term, by the way.
Thank you. Where sometimes, I love it, where you're given a task and another task and another task, and sometimes you overwhelm those that you're trying to lead to accomplish a task.
Right.
Because they have too many.
Exactly. And you know, that I do love that term. I probably will start stealing it from you, but that task saturation means that they know they have all these things they have to accomplish, but as with any person, if they focus on the wrong part, if they focus on the things that are easier to do than the things that are more important to do, Covey was really good about the quadrants. If you're looking at if you're under the tyranny of the urgent, right. Then you're not getting the stuff that needs to be done. You need that quadrant 2 stuff, the stuff that's urgent but not due now.
And sometimes somebody will hide out in doing work.
Absolutely.
Because the other things need to be
human
get
nature,
done.
right?
Yeah,
it's
the hide out
the
one's
least
easy.
amount of pain. I'm going to go there, right? So
that task saturation, it's got to be important. One, you're overwhelmed, so you're handing stuff off. You finally feel I'm going to hand stuff off. You get good at it, but then you oversaturate the situation.
The task should be attached to something. What is the end result that you're looking for? And as you keep focusing on the person that you've given the task to, keep focusing on what they want. You want that result to look like. So in other words, don't worry about the fact that you want them to do A, B, C, D, C, F. Say, look, I need to make sure that our thing gets done by Friday. Are you on goal for that?
Right.
Don't worry about the task part. They need to break that down. But they know it's due by Friday, and you've given them the guidance and intent, they should be able to execute.
Last thing I'm going to mention before we finish up, and that is your thoughts on being open to recommendations, changes. I don't want to say criticisms, but suggestions.
Yeah.
I mean, in the military, that might have been a challenge sometimes.
It actually is. It's funny that General McMaster's, who just got selected for the National Security Agency, was actually one of the guys that was shaking the trees a lot. He was definitely somebody higher ups did not want to work with because he always questioned. He would always ask, and he'd want his people to question. Because here's the deal: if you know what you know, then every question is validating what you know. If they ask a question that you don't know, it's an opportunity to learn. So open yourself up to that. Make sure you know that you don't know everything, and somebody else might bring something to bear that you don't know, and that's a positive. That's an opportunity.
Knowing that you don't know is part of the key, right? Yeah.
Being open to it. Yes.
Love it. Love it. Those who want to reach out to you, Mike?
Well, my email address, unfortunately, is very long and laborious. It's mike@tabsantaclaritavalley.com, but you can call at 661-220-1993.
Thanks for coming in for a quick segment.
My pleasure.
Appreciate
Anytime.
talking about process improvement. We can all get better in everything we do, whether it's at home, work, no matter what. As a leader, that's so important. Mike Grover, the president of TAB Santa Clarita Valley. Hope you enjoyed this edition of the Santa Clarita Valley Chamber of Commerce Business Spotlight. Host Fred Arnold on AM 1220 KHTS.